The battlefield is rarely shaped by a single weapon, a single design, or a single moment. But in the violent, smoke-choked fields of War World II, armored warfare changed forever when two machines, born from radically different philosophies, clashed for dominance. One, the American M4 Sherman, a mass-produced, reliable workhorse designed for mobility and numbers. The other, the German Panther, a sleek, lethal predator crafted to dominate tank duels with surgical precision. Their encounter would echo far beyond the ruined towns and muddy fields of Europe. It would change tactics, influence doctrine, and set the template for tank warfare for generations to come. This is the story of the Panther versus the Sherman, and the duel that rewrote the rules of the battlefield. War rarely gives armies time to reimagine themselves from the ground up. It forces adaptation under fire, compelling designers and commanders to learn from failure in real time. In 1941, the Germans received a shock they never expected. As they pushed deep into Soviet territory, their armored columns encountered the T-34, a tank with sloped armor, wide tracks, and a deadly gun. The Panther was Germany's answer, a weapon rushed into production to confront a new armored reality. Meanwhile, across the ocean, American planners had built the Sherman to fit an entirely different doctrine. For them, tanks were not designed to duel other tanks. Instead, they were intended to support infantry, exploit breakthroughs, and rely on tank destroyers to handle enemy armor. It was a philosophy rooted in mobility, logistics, and mechanical simplicity. It made sense on paper, but the war had other ideas. As German and American forces prepared for campaigns in North Africa, Italy, and eventually France, both nations believed their designs would be enough. The Sherman rolled off assembly lines in astonishing numbers. Crews praised its reliability, ease of repair, and comfortable controls. It could climb steep terrain, ford streams, and be transported easily. Yet as War World II intensified, and as intelligence reports filtered in about thicker German armor and more powerful guns, doubts began to creep into American commanders' minds. Could the Sherman hold its own against what Germany was preparing? Deep in German factories, engineers worked obsessively on the Panther, merging the lessons of the T-34 with German design philosophy. The result was a 45-ton beast with a long-barreled 75mm cannon capable of punching through nearly any Allied tank at long range. Its armor was sloped aggressively, designed to deflect incoming rounds. Its engine was powerful, its optics unmatched, but it carried the curse of complexity: fragile final drives, engines prone to overheating, and a production process that consumed time and resources Germany could no longer afford. Two opposing visions, one built for quantity and global logistics, the other crafted for battlefield dominance. Their collision was inevitable. The first real tests came after the Allied landings in Italy, where Sherman soon encountered heavier German armor. Yet even there, Panthers appeared only in small numbers, often limited by mechanical issues or the rugged terrain. Reports trickling back to Allied command hinted at a new, dangerous German tank whose gun could destroy a Sherman before the American crew even spotted it. But it wasn't until June 1944, after the beaches of Normandy had been secured and the hedgerow fighting began, that the Panther would reveal itself in its intended role. And it was in those tight, deadly bocage lanes that the duel between the Panther and the Sherman became legend. The Panther's long-range advantage meant nothing in the thick hedgerows. The battlefield narrowed into short-range shootouts, where ambushes happened at ranges far below the designs envisioned by either nation's engineers. Yet even so, the first direct confrontations often went in the Panther's favor. Its armor shrugged off the Sherman's standard 75 rounds from the front, leaving American crews with only a few options: flank, call for artillery, or hope air support could intervene. And for many Sherman crews, that realization came at the cost of burning steel and shattered lives. Sherman crews quickly developed a grim respect for their opponent. Stories spread between tank crews, whispered over radios, or shared around campfires. Veterans described the chilling silhouette of the Panther's turret cresting a ridge, or the sharp crack of its cannon slicing the air before the Sherman crew even registered they'd been targeted. But the story of this duel is not simply one of one tank overpowering the other. It is the story of adaptation, teamwork, and innovation under fire. When the standard Sherman struggled, American engineers raced to upgrade it. The 76mm gun was introduced, offering far better penetration at the cost of high explosive power. Crews learned to aim for the Panther's flanks or lower front plate. New tactics emerged. Tanks operated in pairs, one drawing fire while the other maneuvered around to strike from the side. Smoke rounds became vital tools. Infantry with bazookas became essential partners. And the arrival of the Sherman Firefly, armed with the British 17-pounder gun, introduced a new dimension to the duel. In British and Commonwealth units, the Firefly became the one Sherman the Germans feared most. But even with all these changes, the Panther remained a formidable adversary. Its gun could kill a Sherman at distances where the Sherman's fire would simply bounce off. Its armor was thick enough that many frontal engagements felt hopeless. Yet its weaknesses were equally real. Its mechanical fragility meant many Panthers never reached the battlefield. Its weight made it struggle in soft ground. Its turret traverse was slower, giving quicker handling Shermans an advantage in close quarters fighting. And each Panther destroyed was a loss Germany could not easily replace. The duel reached its peak during the breakout from Normandy. In battles like Saint-Lô, Villers-Bocage, and around the Falaise Pocket, Shermans found themselves facing Panthers in engagements where terrain, smoke, and maneuver mattered more than raw firepower. Crews described the chaos, shouting orders over engine noise, smoke obscuring vision, shells screaming past the turret, the gut-twisting fear of being caught out in the open. Fear was a constant companion, but so was determination. At close range, the Sherman's faster turret and reliability suddenly mattered. In narrow villages, the Panther's long gun became a hindrance. In muddy fields churned by artillery, its weight caused it to bog down while lighter Shermans surged forward. And when air support came into play, Panthers found themselves hunted by fighter-bombers, their armor offering little protection from rockets and bombs. Each clash revealed something new about modern armored warfare. It wasn't just about armor or guns. It was about mobility, coordination, logistics, and the ability to keep fighting day after day. And in that sense, the Sherman, though outgunned, had an advantage no Panther could match. Overwhelming numbers and unparalleled reliability. America could field 5 Shermans for every Panther, and in the grinding war of attrition across France and into Germany, that mattered more than any single technological advantage. Still, the duel shaped tank design far beyond World War II. The lessons learned influenced the post-war era dramatically. Tank designers recognized the importance of sloped armor, leading to the iconic shapes of Cold War tanks like the Patton, the Centurion, and the Leopard. Gun calibers grew, armor became more complex, mobility became a priority, and nations around the world studied the clashes between Panther and Sherman crews, examining what worked, what failed, and why. The Panther's legacy lived on in its aggressive armor layout, powerful optics, and emphasis on long-range lethality. The Sherman's legacy endured in its reliability, ease of maintenance, and proof that battlefield success was not determined by the best tank on paper, but the best tank in context. The duel demonstrated that war is not won by engineering brilliance alone. It is won by the weapon that can be built, deployed, sustained, and fought effectively by the people who rely on it. The men inside these tanks, German and American, experienced the duel not as theory, but as terror and courage in equal measure. American crews described the sickening realization when their shots bounced harmlessly off a Panther's glacis plate. They remembered the gut punch of seeing a fellow Sherman ignite in seconds. But they also remembered victories, flanking maneuvers that caught Panthers off guard, teamwork that overcame technical disadvantages, and the moments when the Sherman proved exactly why it had been built. German crews, too, had their own perspective. Many admired the Panther's gun and accuracy, praising its ability to destroy enemy tanks at extreme ranges. But they also cursed its breakdowns, its maintenance demands, and the near-constant need for spare parts that rarely arrived. Some crews expressed frustration that they spent more time repairing than fighting. Others felt trapped by the weight of their own machine, unable to maneuver freely as the terrain demanded. As Allied forces pushed deeper into Europe, the duel continued through Belgium, the Huichin Forest, and into the Ardennes. During the Battle of the Bulge, Panthers led the German armored spearheads, confronting Shermans in snowy forests and icy villages. Some of the war's most intense tank engagements occurred here. Panther crews attempted to exploit their long-range advantage in open fields, but poor visibility, fog, and snow often neutralized it. Shermans counterattacked relentlessly, supported by artillery and infantry, striking at the Panther's vulnerabilities. By the time the war reached Germany's borders, the Panther was fighting a losing battle. Fuel shortages, air attacks, mechanical failures, and overwhelming Allied numbers made each duel more desperate. Yet even in its final months, the Panther remained one of the most feared tanks of the war. Many American crewmen later admitted that no Sherman felt truly safe when a Panther was somewhere ahead. In the final engagements of the war, Shermans rolled through shattered cities while Panthers attempted last stands from rubble-filled streets. The duel that had begun in the hedgerows of Normandy ended in the ruined heart of Germany. And as the echoes of war faded, military historians, engineers, and veterans debated for decades which machine truly won. The answer, of course, is more complicated than comparing armor thickness or gun penetration charts. The Panther was technologically superior in many ways: better gun, better optics, better armor, but it was over-engineered for a nation losing its industrial capacity. It broke down too often, it consumed too much fuel. It required too much maintenance, and it arrived too late and in too few numbers. The Sherman, by contrast, was never meant to duel heavy tanks, yet it became famous for doing exactly that. It was the right tank for the army that built it. Reliable, adaptable, easy to repair, and produced in unprecedented numbers. It could win not because it was the best individual machine, but because it fit perfectly into a larger system of logistics, combined arms, and global strategy. And in modern warfare, that system matters more than any single tank. Modern tank doctrine reflects this truth. Mobility, crew survivability, easy maintenance, upgrade pathways, logistics compatibility. These ideas trace directly back to the lessons learned when Shermans and Panthers clashed. Commanders recognized that even the most powerful tank is only as useful as the support behind it. The duel changed armored warfare because it forced both sides to confront the limits of their design philosophies. Germany learned that complex, expensive tanks could not be fielded in sufficient numbers. America learned that tanks would inevitably fight tanks whether they were designed for it or not. After the war, American tanks grew heavier, better armed, and more focused on engaging enemy armor directly. The Sherman paved the way for the Pershing, the Patton, and the eventual M1 Abrams. The Panther influenced the Leopard, the AMX-30, and other European designs. Yet the true legacy is not mechanical, it is human. For the crews who fought in these machines, the duel was not an abstract tactical comparison. It was life, death, fear, and courage condensed into moments of chaos and clarity. Tank crews described the deafening impact of incoming rounds, the heat inside the turret, the smell of oil and metal and cordite, the shouts of commands echoing through headsets. They remembered the instant decisions that determined survival: turn left or right, fire now or wait, stay exposed or retreat for a better angle. They remembered friends lost, victories earned, and the strange brotherhood formed by surviving inside a steel beast. The Panther versus Sherman duel endures because it represents two competing visions of war, each reflecting the industrial, strategic, and philosophical realities of the nations that built them. One valued precision and engineering excellence, the other valued reliability, flexibility, and mass production. In the end, both left their mark, both shaped the tanks that came afterward. And both helped redefine the meaning of armored warfare. Decades later, historians still debate which was the superior tank, engineers still study their designs, museums still preserve their hulking forms, letting visitors stand beside these giants of steel. Veterans who once fought inside them recall the fear, the determination, and the strange companionship formed between a crew and its machine. The duel did not end on the battlefield. It continues in analysis, in books, in documentaries, and in the fascination of people who study War World II. It remains a powerful reminder of how technology, doctrine, and human courage intertwine to shape history. And it stands as one of the most defining armored confrontations of the 20th century, a clash of steel that forever changed how nations design, deploy, and fight with tanks. In the end, the Panther and the Sherman became more than machines. They became symbols of ambition, of strategy, of sacrifice, and of the men who fought inside them. Their duel reshaped warfare, influenced generations of military thinking, and remains one of the most important armored matchups in history. Long after the final shots of War World II faded, the lessons endure. And the story of these two tanks and the crews who battled within them continues to captivate all who seek to understand the brutal, relentless evolution of war.